Damn it. What is going on, you guys? My name is CodyT503 and this is Interesting Podcast. Coming to you guys on April 28th, 2023 for episode 50, where today we actually have a very, very special guest. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you guys get notified whenever I upload content. Make sure to go and follow me on social media at CodyT503. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Let's get right into this. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Jaiden.
Let's go. How's it going, everybody?
Well, what's up, Jaiden? How you doing, bro?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing really, really good, man. Really good. It's a pleasure to have you here, man.
Hey, man, I'm happy to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, let's get right into it, man. So, like, how long have you been doing professional wrestling?
Man, as of February, I'm currently in my 10th year now.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's kind of crazy, dude.
Yeah, how old are you?
24.
Dang, so since 14.
Yes, sir.
Damn. So when did you actually like?
So when I first started wrestling, I wasn't formally trained for about 2 years. So actually, like, it's kind of a funny story how I got into it. Like, obviously, I grew up watching it. It was wrestling consumed my world from a very young age. And I ended up going to a local independent show called Blue Collar Wrestling with a bunch of my friends from school because they were like, "Oh, there's this place at the Eagles. They do wrestling every week." And I was like, at this point, I had only known like WWE, Impact, and like just a little bit of Ring of Honor. So I was like, "What? There's like local shows? Okay." So we pulled up, and like the show starts going on, and I'm like, "Wow, this is pretty cool." During the intermission, my dad actually came out from like behind the curtain and was talking to people. And I turned around to my friends, and I'm like, "I'm pretty sure that's my dad." And like, so mind you, I didn't live with my dad, and I think the last time I saw him before that day, I was 5.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, it was kind of crazy. I was like, man,
Yeah.
At that point, I had already started getting like wrestling. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to do.
Mhm.
So I started looking into schools and stuff. I couldn't find anything out here, sadly, but I when I ran into him at the show, I was like, all right, well, this is my in. This is my ticket in, man.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro. That's really crazy. So, like, how many companies do you think like you've actually like worked for so far instead of going off of like cage match like?
Man, I don't know an exact number.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, I'm gonna say like maybe 15, 20.
Yeah.
I'm not sure because I know I've done so many like small random ones over the years too that I'm like, I really wish I would have kept track of my matches. There's people that I know who have like they have it written down every match, every location, every opponent. I stopped doing that after match 6. I regret it to this day, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I saw on Twitter the other week you were tweeting with somebody and they had said that like going through high school and being and doing pro wrestling and doing all of that it had to have been a freaking struggle, man. So like, can you touch on that a little bit?
I'll tell you, I didn't do it the right way, bro. I very much was like, nah, I'm cool off school. I'm gonna just go be a wrestler. I did towards the end of like my high school career, I shifted that momentum. I was like, no, I need to do this properly. I need to graduate at least.
Yeah.
But it was really hard to kind of balance things because a lot of times where like friends would want to hang out and like do extracurricular things, I was going off and doing shows or I was going to training.
Hmm.
Like where I trained actually was at the North Portland Eagles Lodge, and that was like 3 or 4 blocks from my high school. So every day after high school, I was just walking down the block and going to training.
Dang. That's crazy. Yeah, I don't know about like juggling all of that, man. But so like when you are like traveling and doing everything, like what would you say is like the number one struggle, I guess, that you weren't expecting when it came to really diving into being a wrestler?
Honestly, I think the biggest struggle is just finding your footing and how to represent yourself.
Hmm.
Because a lot of the earlier years, like it was my dad that was getting the bookings for me, or my trainer Aries Toretto, and I would just kind of hop in their cars and go with them. And if they had a spot for me, I'd get on.
Hmm.
So it even now, I still kind of struggle with reaching out to promoters and being like, "Hey, this is my stuff. I'd like to work for you someday." Uh, because I've been very fortunate to kind of have the opportunities not necessarily handed to me,
Hmm.
but just kind of being in the right place at the right time and knowing the right people kind of helped me get where I needed to be.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I understand that, man. So, well, let's talk a little bit about like your move set, man. Like
For
you
sure.
have a pretty crazy move set whenever you're in the ring. But I forgot the like actual technical name for it, but where you're like you go up to the rope and then you do a front flip to the outside. Like
Oh yes.
every time I see that, like, oh my god, so crazy, man. So it's like like how do you go about learning all of your in-ring work?
Well, with stuff like the dives and stuff like that, it's kind of you just kind of do them. See, it's a lot of trial and error. That one specifically, the rope step tope, that I watched ACH do,
Mhm.
and I was like, man, I didn't think I could do it at first, but I started messing around at class one day, hit the ropes, and I was like, just getting the footwork down, got the balance on the one foot down. And I said, I might be able to do this.
Yeah.
A lot more like other stuff in my moveset though has been trying to set myself apart from other people and really kind of honing in on something that is my own.
Mhm. Yeah. So like I know like there's been like this trend on Twitter going around but about like naming wrestlers that to know you. So if you had to name five wrestlers, what would
Ooh,
your five be?
five is a good number. Five is a real good number. Number one, honestly, I'd probably have to put Jeff Hardy, and then Sami Zayn / El Generico. A lot of, especially the Generico stuff. A lot of that early Generico stuff. That's
ROH.
yeah, that's like my
Hmm.
bread and butter right there. This pick is going to kind of count as one, but it's two wrestlers. The Young Bucks.
Nice.
They probably one of the most influential over my style and how I try to emulate my matches. And then I got two more. So let's go AJ Styles and Rey Mysterio.
Nice. Nice. So you're all high flying.
Yes, primarily, yeah.
Yeah.
I love me some high speed spotty wrestling, man. That's my jam.
That's crazy. So like when it actually came to like developing all of your characters, like Jaden or like the bird, like how did all of those like come to be?
So the bird is a very special case because it wasn't my creation.
Mhm.
The company at the time, which now unfortunately doesn't run anymore, 321 Battle, they had the bird gimmick that was essentially they just put on people when they needed somebody to kind of just be thrown out there to the wolves.
Mhm.
So the first time I ended up getting booked with them, they were like, "We have this character that we think would be good for you if you're interested in doing it." And I was like, okay, sure. Because at the time, like, I still hadn't fully figured out what my own character was yet.
Mhm.
So I was like, yeah, I'll take this, run with it, see what I can do. And they, I got the middle finger on the mask and the singlet, man. And I was like, okay, cool. And when I made my entrance, I walked out the curtain and everybody's already doing this guy right here, right? And I was like, okay. So I just kind of started doing it back to people, and it kind of just it worked and took off.
That's crazy, man. That's awesome. So what about like the superhero gimmick? And sorry. Before you answer, I just wanted to say that like I think your character is really interesting because a lot of people have attempted over the years the superhero gimmick, right?
Yes.
And it's like with you it actually works. You know what I mean? Like people can actually like register that with you, and I think it's just like because like of your I'm sorry for somebody likes it's because of everything that you do to make people understand that you are passionate about it. So like
Yeah,
I just wanted to say that before you got to answer.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the things with gimmicks that I realize is people either overthink them to the point that it kind of becomes a detriment to their character,
Hmm.
or they don't put in enough effort. Um, and I know one of the topics you wanted to talk about was Drexl, so I won't go into too much detail about this till later. But he was very, very instrumental in helping me put together the character of the superhero and more of the reasoning as to why I'm doing it versus just doing it.
Yeah.
My philosophy, like at first when I started the gimmick, it was literally like Marvel movies are doing hot right now. At the time, there was no superheroes on TV as far as wrestling.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, cool. Like, let's lean into this a little bit. And I didn't really know where to go from with it at first. So I just bought like a $10 mask and cape on Amazon and like cut a little promo and was like, oh, I don't know what to wear this time. Like I could be the bird. I could wear my old gear. Oh, I got it. I got it. I'm gonna put on this mask and this cape. And a lot of the gimmick at first was not me being a superhero, but very much me trying to figure out how to become a superhero.
Yeah.
I took a lot of inspiration from like season one, My Hero Academia, and Into the Spider Verse, Miles Morales' story of how like he started out, he had like the homemade suit with the spray painted spider logo and everything, and then over time he built up to having that full suit. And I was like, that is a really cool story to tell because a lot
Hmm.
of people when they switch gimmicks and characters, they will hard reset. They'll go for like for example, like it'd be like if I just went from being Jaiden to just I'm gonna start calling myself Johnny Prime and my gimmick is I drink Prime hydration. You know,
Yeah.
like it's a hard reset, but that offers confusion to the fan base and people who are consuming what you're putting out there.
Yeah.
So you have to make it make sense and you have to thread your character and kind of you take the base of what you are and just keep building on that.
Yeah. Yeah, so like I've always heard that essentially when you're trying to at least get a basis for your character, you kind of take like a few characters that you actually find inspiration from, and then you take certain aspects of your personality and you put them all together, and like that's when you can actually fully evolve and really get into
Yes.
your character because like you understand what you're passionate about, you know. And so it's like what were the other things that are a part of your personality that go alongside your character?
I think honestly, like I'm just kind of a dork myself, man. I was never really like the popular dude or just uh like I play video games. I play Pokemon. I'm big on Pokemon, dude. I'll talk to you all day about Pokemon if you let me. But I was just kind of like the dorky little dude in the corner, man, and that kind of helped me figure out what I needed to be the opposite of me in a way. And it was like it's drawing from that side of me, but also pushing that and making it more outgoing was kind of a huge part of it.
Yeah. Dang. Um, so let's talk about your attire for a second, because I know I've been watching a few of your vlogs, and you were just releasing the new speckled mask, and it's
Yes.
like yeah, and so it's like how does it feel to like have taken something that was you call basic and then make it into something that is your own, and now you get to go and alter it and make different costumes.
That to me, that's growing up as somebody who spent so many hours in the creator wrestler modes on the wrestling games, man. Like I am a gear fiend, man.
Hmm.
I am all about wrestling gear. Like WrestleMania rolls around, that's the first thing I'm looking at is entrances and gear, man.
Yeah.
So for me, with the superhero gimmick now, I was very set on keeping the same look for the suit, and that very quickly got thrown out the window because I design my own gear. I don't do like the actual sewing and everything, but as far as all the drawings and the actual graphics and stuff, I come up with a lot of that.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a lot of having my input, but also being the superhero, having the different suits to me is like different versions of the comics and everything.
Yeah. Interesting. That is crazy. So like let's start to talk a little bit more about Drexel a little bit, man.
Heck yeah,
Yeah.
man.
So like how is it like working for or working alongside like a veteran like he is, and just the amount of knowledge that that dude probably can give you is
Dude,
endless.
it is truly endless.
Yeah.
I go to him all the time, whether it's calling him, texting him. A lot of the times I'm riding the shows with him. So that's where a lot of like those like 3 hour, 6 hour road trips, man, I'm just picking his brain the whole way. Um, he, like I said, he was really instrumental in helping me come up with a lot of the superhero stuff, especially now. He's very hands on with the Shadow Jaiden character
Hmm.
because we wanted to do something after the story I told with Nick Radford, which actually we're still telling kind of the same story if you think about it. But I put up my base set Charizard in a in a match against him and I lost it.
Hmm.
So that was kind of like the origin point of like my breaking point for the character to transition into something even more serious.
Hmm.
But just having somebody like Drexel, where I can not only take stuff and learn from him as far as like character work and pacing and making moments in your matches, but also stuff behind the scenes where like with DOA, I'm learning how to book shows, how to call times for the matches, and all sorts of stuff behind the scenes as well.
Hmm. That's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I could definitely see where if you wanted to go a little bit more darker with your whole character, that like he would know exactly like, hey man, like go out and try this, and see if it works and whatnot. Like
Absolutely.
it'd be insane. And I also heard that for WAC, without a cause, that you were also a part of the management team.
Yes,
So how was how about
I was briefly a part of the team.
okay.
But that was during the pandemic, so I didn't really get to do too much.
Yeah.
We did try to do some tapings that were contained. Everybody was tested and stuff like that, which kind of worked out. It at least gave us some ring time and to make sure that we were ready to come back when things started opening back up.
Well, dang. So you're like that it sucks that like the pandemic just kind of screwed everything.
Dude, yeah,
So
it was a
like
very rough
yeah.
time, but I think we've bounced back well, and I think the scene honestly is a little bit healthier now than it was pre-pandemic. So
Yeah. That's crazy. So like going from like, you actually being a little kid, and you touched on the fact that you would sit there and create wrestlers, and I think every wrestling fan like has this image in their head of like when they were a kid of what they would want to be. Do you remember like what your character name was and whatnot?
I don't remember the character name specifically because I made so many. I think a lot of them were just my actual name. But dude, let me tell you, man, my character, nothing like what I'm doing now. My dude, he was like 6'3", 240, just the absolute athlete of a wrestler, man.
Yeah, that is insane. Um, dang. So let's dive into a little bit about you going in and being a part of AEW. I
Oh
think
man.
we can really into that, bro. So what was it like to actually be on AEW?
It was, oh man. There were so many different feelings and emotions flying around. Like, so that week, I actually was up in Seattle as well. I
Hmm.
didn't end up making it in a match on the Seattle card, which I was like, hey, no worries, I get it. I think there was about, I think 20 of us that were there for both days as extra talent. But it was cool. I got to watch a lot of my friends do really cool stuff in Seattle, and I also got to help out backstage. I was actually running the photos, like the memory cards, back and forth between the media people and the actual photographers. So I got to watch the Seattle show like right from the stage instead of backstage, which was pretty
Oh,
cool.
that is
Yeah.
crazy. That is
So
crazy.
that in
So
itself
like, did it?
was like a really cool experience.
Yeah, yeah. I remember I had actually gone to that show. I don't know exactly where on the card you were, just because I was running late and everything was screwed up getting down there, and that's a completely different
Oh,
story.
life
You
happens,
know?
bro.
Yeah. But it's like I like watching it. Like people were chanting your name in Veterans Memorial Coliseum, and it's like that's a lot of people, and so it's
I'm
like, how
getting
does it
goosebumps
feel
thinking
like?
about it right now, dude. But
Yeah, like how does it feel like standing in that ring and you have like the grand lights and you're looking around and it's just a sea of people like.
man, there there's a lot of people who said that like when you're in a venue that big, you really can't see past like the third, fourth row.
Mhm.
That is cap. I'll tell you that right now. Because I felt like I could not only see but feel everybody's eyes watching at that moment. And when I first got in the ring, like the place kind of lit up a little bit, and Rick Knox tapped me on the back and he goes, "Hell yeah, dude!" I was like, "Let's go!" Oh man, it's just knowing that like I was able to build something locally that translated that well onto their platform was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, that is insane because like even Excalibur said that like you are a very popular athlete here in Portland, Oregon. It's like, what? That's
Man,
freaking
oh dude,
Excalibur, dude. Like that is awesome.
it was insane, man. And then you got Tav on the commentary too.
Yeah.
That's cool for me. The first show I went to was SmackDown in 2006 at the Moda Center,
Mhm.
and he was doing commentary there too. So that for me, it was kind of like full circle.
That is really crazy, man. That is awesome. So it's like, did you get to meet a lot of, I guess, people or just even small interactions with some of the major
Very,
talents?
yeah. In passing, I the first person that I saw when we got there was Chris Jericho,
Ah.
and I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, you walk in the building and there's Chris Jericho right there, and it kind of puts it into perspective, like, oh, I'm actually here.
Hmm. Yeah.
um, and everybody was super polite and super nice to not only me but just all of us as extras, and it felt as if we were meant to be there. It didn't feel like we were shoved into a corner and like kind of ostracized from the rest of the guys. Like a lot of them actually watched the show right there with us in the gorilla position.
That is crazy. So like, was there anybody that like you did kind of like really, I guess, hit it off with and could sit there and talk to?
I got to talk to Fox for a bit, AR Fox, which was really cool because I actually went out to his school for a month in 2018.
Hmm.
So it was cool to reconnect with him, and he actually remembered me and was like very invested that I was there, and I was like, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you get to talk to Tony Khan at all, or
No,
at
I
least see him?
really wished I would have approached him. Um,
Hmm.
at the point I realized that he was right there, I was already headed to the ring. um,
Oh yeah.
dude, we're like I'm watching everybody go on before me, and I'm getting in the zone, and I happen to like I just glanced over my shoulder, and I'm pretty sure it was him and Christopher Daniels, but they are sitting there at their own table with their own monitor, and I'm like, I'm about to go out there, and I know the owner of All Elite Wrestling is watching me, man. That's
Hmm.
like, you talk about a set of nerves.
Yeah, that would be absolutely insane.
it,
And it's like, what is it like for you to like be in the ring with a athlete like Will Hobbs?
man,
Because like he has to be massive.
he is a big brother, man. Let me tell you, that's a big dude. I was kind of blown away because I don't necessarily wrestle people that big that often. I have in the past, but Hobbs is a whole different beast, man. He was a cool dude though. He was very nice to me, and I was very appreciative of what we were able to create together.
Hmm. Yeah, dude. Is it cool that like when your daughter grows up, like you're gonna be able to show her that video, and then like show her all of your matches or everything that you've done, and you know
Yeah,
just
dude,
share
definitely.
share it with her.
She's already taken a little bit of an interest in wrestling. I
Mhm.
mean, as much as a 1 year old can. She definitely watches along with me though, and I think that's really cool. I'm not gonna force it on her. I'd much rather her do what she wants to do with her life. But if she's with it and she wants to pursue it, then absolutely, like I'm gonna be there 110% to support her and guide her in the right direction.
Yeah, interesting. So like to go back to when you were in AEW, when Will Hobbs flipped you over and you were able to do your pose, and then you got that pop, man. Like were you expecting doing it to get that kind of reaction?
Not as big of a reaction as it was, and I think that's really when it settled in. Like how many people were actually there for me.
Hmm.
Because I'd only done the superhero landing out of moves a handful of times at that point. The first one being at DOA against Derek Shaw, which he gave me the burning hammer, and I hit it out of that, and people just stood up out of their chairs. And I was like, okay, sick. So there is something here with this.
Hmm.
And then it became a matter of how can I try to do it to where I'm getting the most out of the reaction. Because I find I played with the placement of it quite a bit in different places in the matches. I find earlier on, if I do it early, it's almost like they wanted it, just not yet.
Hmm.
But if I wait till later after it's like they think I'm kind of down and out, I hit that boom right there. Then they're like, okay, sick. Now he's about to come up. It's very much that anime gear shift, like you see Goku when he goes Super Saiyan and stuff like that. That's kind of where I draw the inspiration from with the superhero landing. Now with
Yeah.
Hobbs is a little bit different. Because Hobbs, it was more, I'm trying to create distance and make sure that he is not going to use his power to outpower me, man. So,
Yeah.
um, and I think it was a really cool story that we were able to tell. Like, I run in at Hobbs, grab his leg, I'm trying to take him down, and obviously it's not working. That man's built like a tree, dude.
Mhm.
So, he picked me up, threw me to the side, and I kind of rolled out of the way and gave him some kicks, and it didn't work out. So he went to throw me for that back suplex, and I was like, no, wait, dude, if this is going to be the last thing I get, then so be it.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it looked like when he slammed you, like he got you ups and then just
Dude,
it was
that
crazy.
that suplex, or he just had me and he let me go, man. It felt like I was falling forever.
That is freaking crazy. So, how do you guys go about, I guess, like coordinating a match? Like, because like there has to be like specific segments where it's like once this happens, then we'll go into this, and you kind of work based off of the crowd. How
Yep.
do how do you guys go about
It's
that?
it's very different based on where you're working and who you're working. Because there's some guys that'll get in there and they'll just kind of be like, I don't really want to talk about much. I got this, and this that I do. Other than that, we can just get in there and work. And I'm cool with that. But I am a little bit of a perfectionist. So I kind of take the route of like, this is what I want to do here. And if we thread it here, it can lead to this later. And it's a lot of bullet points kind of and hitting certain notes throughout the match. But I find you definitely want to leave room for those organic moments to come across.
Yeah.
But like with AEW, it was a whole different beast. We had Pat Buck was in there with me and Hobbs and was kind of guiding us along with the story of what we needed to tell and making sure that we had, So I think our segment it started at 6 minutes and then we got bumped down to 3, I think. And that's 3 minutes with Hobbs' entrance as well. So it's really like 2. But planning the match there, it was, how can we tell this story of Hobbs getting annoyed with me and then finally getting his hands on me? And that's kind of where we came up with the idea to do the superhero landing. Because at first they were like, well, is there any moves that you want to get in? And I was like, I don't think I'm going to get anything in on Hobbs. Like, all my stuff is kind of I was like, I don't know. I'd have to bump him. And they were like, yeah. Hobbs like, I'm not bumping. And I was like, no, I totally get it, dude. Trust me. I no problems. So I was like, it's not necessarily a move, but it could make for a good moment. So if I could just get the little pose in out of some sort of reversal, I'll be set. And I was very thankful that they allowed me to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, because like that is like a really, really big opportunity. And I remember in one of your blogs you had brought up that like Tony Khan has featured over like 1,000 indie pro wrestlers, and it's like, do you know the exact number that you were?
I think at the time, I want to say I was 107 or 1007, something along those lines. Somebody on Twitter has the stats because that's where I saw it because they tagged me. I'm gonna try to find that later and send it to
you. That is really, really crazy, man. So it's like, what do you exactly, I guess, like want to do like in your career? Like, do you have like a bucket list and like a list of goals and whatnot?
I would say so. There's definitely a lot of people I would like to wrestle either for the first time or again. People I could shout out a few real quick. As far as rematches, I would like to work Myron Reed one more time. I've wrestled him a couple times, but that was during the pandemic, so we had a very limited crowd. So I'd like to run it back in front of an actual crowd. AR Fox would be one. Dude, I could just say the whole AEW roster, to be honest. That's like, but as far as like other goals and stuff, like I'd really like to do something with an Ultimate X match, perhaps with Impact. That would be super cool. Growing up, like watching guys like Styles, Shelley, in like 2008, I was a huge Suicide fan. The wrestler, man. Hey, I don't know what it was about that character. I thought that was cool, man. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah. Impact definitely had their heyday where it was really, really good shit.
And I think honestly they're starting to pick it up a little bit again with like their current crop of guys. They have a lot of talented people on the roster now. As far as other goals, obviously, like the big one for me is I would like to be signed to a contract. That's number one. But honestly, the ultimate goal is just I want to be able to support my family full time through wrestling and only wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah. So is this something that you just do like part time? Like, do you have like another
Oh
job?
no, this is it. This is all I do. I other than that,
Crazy, dude.
my job I guess is just staying home with my baby.
That's awesome, dude. Living
Heck
life.
yeah, man. Trying to, man. Just trying to chase dreams out here.
Yeah. Yeah. So you had touched on you facing Myron Reed, and when I was going through YouTube and I saw that, I was like, dude, that's freaking Myron Reed because I
Yeah,
remember him
man.
from MLW, and he's a great pro
Oh,
wrestler.
one dude.
Awesome.
If I had to pick one person on the independent scene that should be signed to a contract, it's him, hands down. Myron,
Yeah.
he wrestles on a different level, and he's a nice dude, man. He's an awesome dude. And when we wrestled, he actually kind of let me have my say in what I thought the match should be. And I really
Yeah.
respected him for that because I always get kind of nervous when I work bigger names because I'm not, like I'm good for my scene, but I'm not on any level like known majorly. So it's for
Mhm.
me like I'm coming in as the guy that they don't know, and I get very nervous about that because I'm not sure if they're going to be like, well, listen to me, kid, this is what we're going to do, or if they're going to be open like Myron was.
Mhm.
I find more often that people are open rather than being like that kind of old school style, which I really appreciate.
Yeah. So that yeah, dude, that's a really good question. Is like when you are backstage and you're coordinating with people. I had touched with Drexel that there are going to be sometimes those people where they're going to try and like take advantage of you or push you around and kind of do all of those things, and it's like, can you touch on maybe a time where you had to kind of stop somebody and be like, nah, dog, like we need to do this together, you know what I'm saying? Otherwise, like, the
Man,
trust in.
yeah, there was a lot of times earlier on in my career before I turned 18 where a lot of guys just kind of felt like they could just do what they wanted. Not only because I was young and new, but because I was small. I I don't think I broke like 130 till the pandemic.
Mhm.
So I was for me to go in there like I can't really dead weight people and like stop them from throwing me around. There was one guy in particular though who I had a lot of issues with. I'm not gonna name names because I don't really like doing that anymore. But I had a lot of issues with him, and he was just very unprofessional in how he operated with things, and definitely took a lot of liberties. So we ended up in a match against each other, and before we went out, like he got like my trainer actually was like, "You're not gonna do anything. You're not gonna try to pull any shit to him, are you?" And he made him tell everybody in front of the whole locker room, like no, like I'm not gonna do anything, I promise. But it's a different story when we got out there. And
Mhm.
he's taking his liberties and trying to, shoot on me and stuff. To the point,
Yeah.
like I spent the whole match pretty much just bumping for this guy and letting him get his stuff in, and like I was like whatever. So I let him get over, let him do his thing, and the match ended, and he still kept going and kept trying to do more and more things. And at one point, he tried to pile drive me on the floor, and I was like, if there's anything that I'm not doing, is that, especially without you communicating. That's what we do. Because that's the thing. And I know a lot of people don't like to break this ball of wrestling, but we all know what it is at this point. So let's,
Yeah.
um, when you're out there, if you're calling moves on the fly, you don't just do them. You communicate to your opponent like, hey, I'm gonna whip you into the corner, stay there. I'm gonna give you the whatever. You have to communicate with people though. And
Mhm.
at that point, he wasn't communicating. He wasn't telling me what his intentions were. But I knew when he hooked that position, I was like, he's trying to pile drive me. So I broke out of it, and we started actually fighting
Mhm.
to the point where I had to, put him on the ground and put him in a guillotine because, like, I'm not trying to actually fight people, dude. Like, if I wanted to do that, I'd sign up for MMA.
Mhm.
I'm trying to entertain people,
Yeah.
and to me, like, he at that point he had broken my trust too many times to where I had to take matters into my own hands and be like, no, dude, like I'm not putting up with this anymore.
That
So
is.
it's unfortunate, honestly. I hate having to do stuff like that, and I'm glad that there's not people in our scene like that anymore that I have to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that's what people call receipts, right?
Oh
In
yeah.
the in the pro wrestling world, and there was this one guy that I had watched. It was on YouTube, and he was sitting there trying to communicate to the guy because they were inside the ring, and he was up on his shoulders, almost like eliminating him from a battle royal.
Okay.
And he was sitting there telling him like, "Hey, you need to calm down," and you could hear it over like on the video. And the dude
Oh
kept
yeah.
like going forward, and he was like, "Dude, you need to calm down." And he tried to throw him out, and like dude wasn't ready, and he landed like on his head, but like they
Yep.
didn't have any padding, so it was just
Oh,
cement. And like the referees go and check on him, and he's down, and like the battle royal continues, and dude's kind of looking at him, and then he's like, "Oh shit, I just gotta let them do their shit, and I'll get
right.
back to it." Dude like gets in the ring and freaking punches the dude in the back of the head, and he like falls to the ropes, and then he just goes and grabs the ropes and just starts kicking him, because it's like
Shit.
I just landed on my head on the cement.
Right.
Like
And
I could have
that's
broken
something
my
that can
neck. Like
really mess you up, dude. You're talking about paralysis. You're
yeah,
talking about major brain injuries. That's no joke.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy, man. So, well, one thing I wanted to touch with you on, and I think is really cool is so do you go and like train a little bit at the Oregon Pro Wrestling School?
Yes. Not as much as should. I could, even being 10 years in, I'm a firm believer, like, you can't ever have too much ring time.
Mhm.
There's always ideas that you can come up with. I mean, dude, like my gears are always turning. Like I could be listening to music or watching something completely unrelated to wrestling, and I'll be like, I have an idea. And it's crazy to me that there's some people who will just like they start getting booked and they're like, oh, I don't need to train anymore. I'm on show. They're like, nah, bro. Like if you're trying to make it, you have to be constantly at the top of your, performance.
Yeah.
So for me now, like I'm trying to, like I have the baby, so I gotta balance life with wrestling.
Mhm.
So I told myself I'm gonna start going to Oregon Pro, and I'm gonna start training, and I'm gonna go at least twice a month. So that way, I'm still keeping my body conditioned to what we're doing. I'm still keeping my brain conditioned to it, and it's good to see people, and I'm really appreciative of Ricky and Eddie and what they are doing and the people they're producing out of that school, man. People like Amira, the Hammer Brothers, Spencer and Zay, the Flamin' Aces. Those guys are like two of my best friends, man. Like, and just getting to know them and watching them go from their first steps in wrestling to where they are now in just a year's time, 2 years time, has been incredible.
Yeah. That is insane. So you had just touched on Eddie Pearl and Ricky Gibson, and I just wanted to say because I don't ever know if they would see this, but like they have always been a tag team that I would say if anybody asked me what like who is your favorite tag team on the indies, it would always be either the 4 minutes of heat or the midnight heat, because
Oh,
I saw them
100%.
back in 2016, and Eddie Pearl and Ricky Gibson, the way that they're able to communicate in the ring and the aspects that they bring to their matches, where like Ricky Gibson can be in the ring and Eddie Pearl will be outside, and then Eddie Pearl will still communicate to Ricky. And like that's an aspect that like we don't usually see in pro
Yes.
wrestling very often, but it's an aspect that they want to carry. And so it's like, have you been able to kind of pick apart their minds a little bit?
Honestly, yes. I've spent a lot of time on the road with them as well. And as far as tag team wrestling, they are without a doubt probably number one in our scene. And dare I say the independents, honestly. The
Hmm.
way they operate, some of us, we refer to it as the wavelength. They have a certain wavelength that they're both on to where they connect as a tag team. And there's a lot of effort, man, that goes into being in a tag team. It's a lot harder than just two dudes getting together and being like, let's come up with some combos and wear matching tights. Like, you have to operate as a unit, and that's both in and out of the ring. That's accepted, training together, communicating ideas together, coming up with, like, it has to be a full collaboration.
Yeah, yeah, you can definitely see with them that they are real, because like back when AEW first came out, Tony Khan had tweeted out like, who would you guys want to see, or list off wrestlers, and I immediately hit the Midnight Heat,
Hell yeah.
and then I hit Aubrey Edwards, because I had seen her in their tag team matches, and I was like, they have like it. They just have it as a tag team, just amazing. And then to see them also be able to be headlined on AEW, I was like,
Man,
yes,
dude,
yes, I've been waiting for that.
I was honestly so stoked with the crop of people that we had for our set of dark tapings. It felt good to be there with all the people that I came up in the scene with and have been watching, and just it was so cool to see guys like them get the opportunity. And Amira, somebody who's in her first year of wrestling, to get that opportunity and to wrestle on that stage, man, like, that's cool. And I could imagine that's got to be even cooler for them, because they're not only there, but one of their students is with them as well.
Crazy. Yeah. So like, who would you say would be your, if you were to have a story where it was mentor and teacher, or like a teacher and student, who do you think you would mostly match up with to be able to tell that story?
As far, what would my role be though? Would I be the teacher, or would I be the
I guess yeah, teacher.
Okay.
Yeah, is there anybody like younger that you see that is coming up and you're like,
In my scene, I probably Zay Perez. Honestly, he's very similar to how I was when I first started. I'm kind of a smaller dude. And I see a lot of myself in him and Spencer both. But Zay is kind of the one to me that I feel like if I took under my wing, I could help a lot more.
Yeah.
There's another wrestler though who just started wrestling, I believe, out towards the east, named Erica Demia, and she's got like the whole like My Hero gimmick going. So that is something that I think would be an interesting story to tell, with both of us kind of having that similar build for our characters. Me obviously being a little bit further along with mine. But I think that would be a really cool thing to try and figure out how to tell.
Yeah.
Because with that one, it would almost be less of us having a match and almost more the All Might Deku kind of aspect.
So I have a question. So when you, I guess, are with the character, like, what are the limits you're the I guess, or or will you ever become like a supervillain?
See, the supervillain part is so tough. With the dark character, I can build on the hero and kind of shift it into a different direction. But to go full supervillain, I would have to not necessarily reset what I'm doing. I would just have to take a lot of time to figure out all the small details and intricacies like I did with this one. And also, man, like, turning heel is like, I want to do it at some point just because it's something that I think could be fun as far as stories to tell. But man, the connection I have with kids at shows now is like, it hits different, especially now that I have my own kid running around. It's seeing the way that some of these kids light up when they see me, and like they truly believe that I'm a superhero. So for me, I'm like, I have to carry that, and I have to keep that in mind when I'm doing these things. So as far as like the Dark Jaiden character and building on that, I don't think it'll ever get to a point where it's like I'm borderline evil.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's gonna be there's definitely gonna be a tone shift. And as far as my moveset and everything, I'm still trying to figure out how to make what I do now more aggressive and come across more aggressive and more violent, and let that really kind of be where the darkness kind of flows through.
Interesting. That's really interesting. So when did you actually win, I guess, like with like your first championship? Like when were you able to hold a title for the first time?
Too early. Honestly.
Too early?
I think within like my first 10 matches, I had won a tag team title, and I was like, at the time I felt like I didn't work hard enough. I was like, why am I getting this, dude? I can barely bump. I can barely, I can barely run the ropes, man. I don't know what I'm doing. But like my first real championship, I feel like didn't really come until about like year 5.
Yeah.
And I know like there's some people I know who have been wrestling longer than I am and have only recently won their first championships. And that to me, that's insane. But again, it's just different. There's different spots on the cards. There's different slots that us as wrestlers fill roles. So I get it. Not everybody can be a champion.
Yeah. I that is actually something I wanted to touch on you with, that I find really interesting, that I always like explain to people about pro wrestling and like the competition is like I look at pro wrestling as like a theater performance, right? So you have the theater director.
Yep.
They have the main role, which would be the championship, and there's like, it's almost like the person is going to hold auditions, right?
In a sense,
And
yeah.
then he's going to look at everything and then be like, okay, so this person can carry a character, he can work in the ring, he can connect with the crowd, he can, sell tickets, like those are going to be the people that are going to be the front runners.
Absolutely.
And then he's going to pick apart, all of that. And it's like, you guys are competing kind of against each other as far as selling and trying to get involved with the crowd, like getting somebody to go out and want to buy your merch or become a fan of you, so that then you can sell tickets and prove to the company so that you can move up. Like there's this whole competition backstage that I just find really interesting. I was just wondering if you could touch on that.
Oh, absolutely. Again, it's kind of a spectrum when it comes to that. But I think it's kind of an unspoken sense of competition most times, because at the end of the day, we're all in it together. We couldn't go out there and just wrestle ourselves. I mean, it's possible. I'm not going to say it's not possible. We've definitely seen some of the stuff with the Invisible Man and the dolls and stuff like that, which I would 100% be down for, dude. If you book me against the Invisible Man, I'm going hard. But back on the question, there is definitely a sense of competition, and like, but you as an individual, you have to look at it and go, okay, do I also want to be in their position, or am I actually envious of where they are? And you have to find that balance and be like, okay, it's cool to want the same things as other people, but it's not cool if it's, if you're becoming angry about it, or if you get jaded about it, An example of that for me, like I started wrestling at 14. So like now there's a lot of other people like Starboy Charlie, Nick Wayne, Billy Starks, people like them who started young as well. And I've got to watch them excel and just shoot up the ranks. You've seen Billy Starks on AEW countless times. Nick Wayne is signed to an AEW contract, and he hasn't even graduated high school yet. So stuff like that, for me personally, I feel like I missed the boat of being a wrestler under 18 and getting some of the opportunities that they got. But at the same time, I think it is amazing that they are now able to get those kinds of opportunities. Because when I was wrestling underage, it was kind of hard for me to get on shows
Mhm.
because at the time it was kind of looked down on. Even though my dad was there, he signed the waivers and everything. And at a point, like I trained,
Mhm.
so it was a weird disconnect for me. But now, like I know that that's an avenue for people, and people are taking it and making the absolute most out of it. And that I'm like, heck yeah, man,
Yeah, dude, that's got to be pretty crazy that you got to actually be in a tag team with Nick Wayne, and now
dude.
now look at where he is, and you kind of have like that lineage with him, like crazy.
Dude, our tag team, a lot of our stuff that was him.
Hmm.
Like our all our tag combos and everything we did as far as our in ring stuff, that was all Nick, man. And I realized that right away. And when I seen that, I was like, dude, y'all gotta let him do his own thing. He doesn't need me, bro. He does not need me. And
Hmm.
he's taken those opportunities and he's shown that.
That's crazy, dude. I don't know, man. So we're actually cutting it close to almost an hour, and I just want to ask you this before we actually end up shutting it down, man. Is what does professional wrestling like mean to you as a person and as a performer?
Honestly, I owe my life to wrestling, dude. I think without it, I probably wouldn't be here having this conversation today. It's pulled me out of a lot of dark places. Like there's a point in time before, and even during, like when I first started training and stuff, like I had a lot of bad issues at home, and there's points and times where like I was sleeping in parks and just crashing at my friends and like whatever family member would take me at the time, and just having wrestling through all of that kind of gave me a purpose, and now I have even more of a purpose with wrestling. So like with my daughter, I have a reason to keep going. And that's
Hmm.
that's really my goal, is just to make sure that I can provide for her through this.
That is freaking awesome, dude. That's awesome. Well, I just want to thank you again and very, very much for joining me here today, dude. It is awesome to sit down here and just pick apart your brain for a little bit.
Heck yeah, man, I appreciate it. Like I said, I don't do these very often, so I figured it was time to do one. And knowing that you wanted to talk about like my experiences at Dark and other stuff, I was like, oh, this is gonna be sick. Because normally, like like when I was doing these before, people would ask me a lot of the same questions, and I was like, I just feel like I'm telling the same stories. But
Yeah.
this one, I had a lot of fun, and just getting to touch on different subjects is always fun.
Freaking awesome, dude, man. Well, all right, man. Well, I hope you have a good night, man.
Hey, man, thank you.
All right, bro. Catch you later.
Yes, sir.
All right, you guys. So that was interesting podcast interview with Jaiden. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Ring that notification bell so you guys get notified whenever I upload content. Make sure to go and follow me on social media at CodyT503. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I'll catch you guys later.